By the way, no sukkahs or tents. So you can't make a sukkah and say it's not a sukkah, it's a tent. They already figured that someone was going to try that.
And this way they're not discriminating, so they say the word tent.
100%. I'm sure they also said no gazebos. I'm just nuts.
Oh, yeah. All right, we have a minion.
What were you guys
13.
just talking?
Yeah,
What were you
we
just
have
talking
bar mitzvah.
about with no gazebos or whatever, no tents or sukkahs?
No, some place in Florida where a lot of people are going for Pesach, and one of these
Sukkahs.
condo communities made a rule: no sukkahs, tents, or anything that could be lied about. That's a sukkah.
Always?
No, now they made the rule now.
For the next
I'm
10
saying,
days. It's in effect for the next 10 days.
Just a temporary rule.
Yeah, it's
A
10-day
temporary rule that if you do it, you get fined.
Got it.
Okay, so let's go. So Zok the Mishna, yeah? On utensils Aleph. Right, that's what we got up to.
Yes.
Okay, so Zok. Now another, it's hard to say, it's Kodshim a little bit, so a little taste of what's coming in a couple of years, Beis Hashem. But I think, look, Gershon is the only one smiling. Okay, sure. I mean, for those that like meat, it's not the meat type of Kodshim, though. It's not.
Well, I
Yeah.
guess we'll deal with it if we make it there.
Yeah, Beis Hashem, that's right. That's right. There's a whole lot of Yavamas to get before that, right? And Nazikin or whatever. Okay, so anyways, so Dr. Mishna. So Shamai Mavi and Shlamim ve'ein samich aleim. So we know that there's different types of korbanos. You have a korban shlamim, right, which is partially eaten by humans and partially eaten by what we call Hashem, what the Gemara is going to refer to as Hashem, but it means it goes on the mizbeach. You have korban oila, which is totally eaten by Hashem, meaning it's totally burnt on the mizbeach. So the issue that's going to be is, to bring a korban really is a chil Shabbos, chil Yom Tov, but we do it for the korban sibur. Question is, on Yom Tov, should we allow korbanos that are not going to be eaten by humans if that's not a tzarech Yom Tov? Or do we say that, no, it is a tzarech, because Hashem also has a tzarech of Yom Tov?
What, shlamim is that?
Shlamim is eaten by humans, so that's fine. Oil is not. Right? And also, you have to do smicha on the animals. You have to lean on the animals, which we know is also because you're not allowed to benefit from animals.
Does the kohen get anything from the oil?
Not just the skin.
Skins.
Just
He
the
gets
skin.
Skins.
That's the only skin he has in the game. Right? So but that he can't do anything with on Yom Tov anyways. Right? So anyway, so that's what the Machlokes is. V'shamei Mavi and Shlamim, you're allowed to bring a korban shlamim ve'ein samich, but you don't do smicha. Smicha is not ma'akiv. Right? I mean, you can do the korban without the smicha, or you do the smicha on Erev Yom Tov, which we'll see. Right? So you can bring the korban shlamim, but you can't do smicha. You can't lean on them. Avaloi olos, you're not allowed to bring the korban oil because there's no human consumption on the korban oil. You can bring both the and you can even do smicha on them. Right? So let's see. So now we have a machlokes in the Gemara, exactly what the machlokes between Bisham and Hillel is. Right? So Amar Ula, machlokes Bisham chagigah. So now another haktam. There's two korbanos.
Well, just one thing, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
When the Rashi in the Mishna says, Ein Samchin by Beis Shamai, he says,
Right.
because we're afraid you might come to ride on the animal, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
But what do you mean? Aren't you allowed to do it according to Beis Shamai because of Eichel Nefesh?
No, because the smicha on the animal has nothing to do with the consumption of the animal.
You can't eat the animal unless you do smicha.
No, you can. That's what he's saying. You can. It's not ma'akiv. You're supposed to, but if it's not ma'akiv. You're supposed to lean on it, but if you can't, then it's fine. So he's saying that part would not be toicha Yom Tov according to Vishama. According to Beis, it would be toicha Yom Tov. Right? So
Now, see, Yaakov, now that I wasn't going to ask, but now that you're talking about it, what about Ein Shvus B'Mikdash? What are they doing? What's
Oh, so what's taka with Ein Shvus B'Mikdash? I think the pshat is it's Ein Shvus B'Mikdash if it's necessary, but if you can get around it, then that's what I think. I can't say for sure, but that's what I would think.
I heard another answer.
Yeah.
Even if it was necessary, there's no necessity for smichas to the shkita. The smicha could have been done with Erev Yom.
Why should you?
Why should you what?
Do it on Erev Yom Tov.
Do that empty.
Because you want smicha
You want
done
to bring
on
the
this
korban
korban.
on Yom Tov, and you can't do the smicha on Yom Tov, do it Erev Yom Tov.
I'm saying, what's wrong with that? If it's anxious to English, so why?
You wouldn't say Ein Shvus B'Mikdash if there's another way out. If it's not necessary to do, there's no Ein Shvus. You can't just stop, just go, let's go to the Beis Hamikdash, do all the Drabanans. That's not how it works. If you need to do it, it's toveling. You don't need to do this. Then you could do it the day before.
Yeah, this work, Yaakov, I'm trying to be quiet. I'm just trying, but it's another.
Why are you trying to be quiet?
So now 600,000 people are coming Erev Yom Tov to do smicha on the animals, and then they're going back to their hotel room. And then
I just want to
tomorrow
say, you're not being
with three
successful.
coupons.
You're not being
What should
successful.
I do? What should I do?
No,
Does anybody
600,000
understand
people.
it? Does anybody understand this? I don't understand one word. It's
Most
good.
people wouldn't have come with olos yachid on Yom Tov. They came before or after Yom Tov. This is the one person that comes on Yom Tov. He could have done it before.
I'm sure it was more than one person. Okay.
Whatever. I mean, most people wouldn't do it on Yom Tov.
Excuse
Who would
me,
have a holiday
excuse
to
me.
do it on Yom Tov?
Hello, Gershon. We're talking
Yeah.
about the olos riyah, which every male in Klal Yisrael is chayiv to bring on Yom Tov. They chayiv 3 korbanos on Yom Tov. Olos riyah is one of the 3. So all 600,000 males have to bring it.
On Yom Tov?
Yeah, on Yom Tov. That's
Well,
when you have
that's-
to. When are you supposed to go
Huh?
riyah? When are you supposed to see riyah? Riyah is on.
Well, that's going to be part of the Machlokes. That's going to be part of Machlokes,
Yeah.
whether you bring the olos riyah on Yom Tov or not. That's going to be part of the Machlokes.
okay,
but either
good.
way, they're
So-
around. They're
So
around.
good. So good. So you do smicha Erev Yom Tov with the olos riyah, and then you'll come back the first day of Yom Tov with the 2 korbanos that you have to bring. So good. So good. I mean, if
No,
I'm saying,
Miman of Shah.
It's good
If
for
it's
the hotel
butchered to
business.
bring,
It's good for the hotel business. So
Definitely good for the hotel business.
Yeah.
no, it's for the Ubers. The hotels is booked anyway. It's the Uber guys. You got to schlep these people back and forth to the Mikdash. Okay, fine. I'm going to be quiet because I don't understand this.
Rabaran, I'm
And
sure.
any of the places we learned this, I still don't understand.
I'm sure they're going to make a deal where you get a smicha when you buy the animal 3-4 days before, and that's all. I'm sure there's a legal loophole for that. Right? Do
You
the
have to go to
smicha
a
at home.
butcher. You
Smicha
only
at
go
home
to-
program.
You only go to butchers who have son-in-laws who are God.
Yeah, whatever it is. Anyways, so what Rabban was saying, so there's 3 korbanos that you have to bring every Yom Tov, right? The Shamai Simcha, the olos riyah, and the chagigah, right? Now the Simcha really you could be yaitza with other basar. It's just really you just have to have basar, and that will give you Simcha, which is the makar for us having meat basar, basar on Yom Tov. But either way, so they're chiyuvim. So Amar Ula, Machlokes v'Shamai chagigah, l'smoich v'olos riyah l'karev. The Machlokes is by the Shamai Simcha. Shamai chagigah, the korban chagigah, to do smicha on it, and the oila of the riyah to be backer it. The Shamai sabri v'chagoyim moisei chag l'Hashem. Right, you make a Yom Tov to Hashem chagigah in olos riyah loy. You bring the korban chagigah. You are not allowed to bring the olos riyah. Right, so meaning even though the olos riyah is meant to be brought on Yom Tov, you can't bring it on Yom Tov. You have to bring it after Yom Tov. Because you have 7 days, what we call tashlumin, 7 days where you can make up the korban. So Basilos Abri Lashem, called the Lashem, anything that's for Hashem. So that's when the Machlokes is about. Nedarim and nidavos, Divrei HaKol ain't craving Yom Tov, but nedarim and nidavos, which are optional. Somebody makes a neder, he promises, or a nedava it's. And a neder is where he's on the hook for it. And a nidavos is just a present. Either way, those are optional. Those don't have to be brought on Yom Tov. Because there's no reason. Wait till after Yom Tov. Right? So according to this first version of the Machlokes B'Shamai, voluntary korbanos are not allowed to be brought on Yom Tov according to both. So Meisvei, we ask Akasha, Amr Shimon ben Elazar, Lo Nechlik B'Shamai Yisrael al Oila She'eino Shel Yom Tov. Right? There's no Machlokes B'Shamai Yisrael on an Oila specifically that's not for Yom Tov. She'eino Kreva b'Yom Tov, you're not allowed to bring on a Yom Tov. Bal Shlamim She'ein Shel Yom Tov. And on the korban shlamim that is for Yom Tov, again, the korban shlamim is eaten both by the kohen and by the mizbeach. Shekrevim b'Yom Tov. So there's no machlokes there. Amar nechliku al oila she shel Yom Tov, al shlamim she'ena shel Yom Tov. The machlokes is on the oila that's from Yom Tov, that's meant to be brought on Yom Tov, the oila is riyah, and on the shlamim that's not from Yom Tov. Shebei Shamai lo yavi, uveis Hillel imrim yavi. So you do have to bring it. So you see clearly that Beis Hillel from this price. Beis Hillel holds that an optional shlamim can be brought. So we have a kasha from a brisa on Ula. Ula said that everybody holds optional korbanos cannot be brought on Yom Tov, and here we have a brisa that clearly says that Beis Hillel holds that you are allowed to bring an optional korban on Yom Tov.
Why
So he
is
says-
this stomach chaylik on our Mishnah? In Beis Shamai says mevi'in shlamim ve'ein tzorich. In this Mishnah, this brisa says ein mevi'in shlamim.
Yeah, but because when one is talking about shlamim, the korban shamai simcha, the Mishnah could be talking about the chiyuv. What the Mishnah doesn't say, there's not mechalik between chiyuv and voluntary. Here we're saying that voluntary is okay, right? So Gemara answers, let's be mataritz and say this. Amar Rav Shimon ben Elazar, lo nechliku b'Shamai Yisrael al oila u'shlamim she'einen shel Yom Tov. So there's no machlokes between B'Shamai Hillel that an oila and a shlamim that are not for Yom Tov, she'ein krevim b'Yom Tov, that you don't bring them on Yom Tov. Al shlamim she'ein shel Yom Tov, she'krevim b'Yom Tov, and on the shlamim that is from Yom Tov, that can be brought on Yom Tov. Aman echliku al oila she shel Yom Tov. The whole machlokes is on the korban oila of Yom Tov, meaning the oilas re'iyah, which is a korban oila that's meant to be brought on Yom Tov. Shebei Shamai lo yavi. Shamai says you're not allowed to bring it. So lo yavi, he says you can bring it. Right, so he made it no machlokes. That again, according to this version, everybody still holds that optional korban shlamims are not allowed on Yom Tov. Rabbi Yosef, I'm a tanoi shaklus meyama. You took a machlokes tanaim away from the world, which is quite an interesting sentence. It's almost like you're depriving us of a machlokes, right? I mean, that's basically what he said. That's basically what he's saying. We have a machlokes tanaim, and now you just took it away. Right, so Tanai Shaklus Me'alma, you took away this the machlokes from the world. Tanai, it's the machlokes Tanaim. The Tanya Shlamim Habayim Machmas Yom Tov, the Yom Tov. The korban shlamim that comes from Yom Tov, which is the korban chagigah and the korban simcha. B'Shamai Arim Saimach Aleim me'erev Yom Tov. You do the leaning on erev Yom Tov, like we said. B'Shachtan b'Yom Tov, and he shechtam on Yom Tov. V'Zilal you can do both on Yom Tov, on Amud Beis now. Aval nedarim and nidavos, divrei hakol ein krevim b'Yom Tov. But nedarim and nidavos, everybody holds, are not brought on Yom Tov. So you see clearly it's a machlokes tanaim whether optional nedarim and nidavos can be brought on Yom Tov. So it is a machlokes tanaim. Don't try and make it that it's not a machlokes tanaim. It is a machlokes tanaim. And then we say v'hani tanoi ki hani tanoi. And these same machlokes tanaim have these similar machlokes to these other tanaim. The Tanya. Now we know we have a korban Todah, which actually had to do with last week. We didn't say mizmor l'sayid on erev Yom Kippur, right? Why don't we say mizmor l'sayid on erev Yom Kippur? Which Gerada, I think this is the first erev Yom Kippur in I don't even know how many years that I remember not to say it. Right? Every year, by the time I remember to say it, not to say it, I'm already done with it. Right? Unfortunately, I don't say that with pride. But this year, for some reason, I remember not to say it, right? So why don't we have a korban Todah? Well, on Shabbos you don't have it, Yom Kippur you don't have it, Pesach you don't have it. Why? Because they didn't allow it to be brought. Because you're not gonna have the proper time to finish it. So then we don't start with in the first place. So that's So that's what the Gemara is saying. The Tanya ein mevi'in Todah b'chag hamatzos and chametz shva. You can't bring the korban Todah. It's made out of chametz, right? It's mostly bread. How does it? 30 loaves? How's it go? 30 loaves. It's a wild amount.
No,
of
30 matzahs, 10 challahs.
30 matzahs, 10 challahs. That's what it is. It's
3 different tens of matzah, 3 different types of matzah, and one of Italian bread.
Right. It's a lot, meaning don't be gluten-free and bring a korban todah. That's the bottom line, because there's a lot of bread that has to be given out, a lot of gluten that's being given out. Either way, you can't, because of the chametz, you can't bring it on Pesach, obviously. You can't bring it on Shavuos Yom Tov, because it's Yom Tov. And since a korban todah is optional, doesn't have to be brought on Yom Tov, so you can't bring it on Yom Tov. Maybe on Sukkos. But on Sukkos, you're allowed to. Now, what does this mean? We'll see later what this means. Why Sukkos should you be allowed to? Right? Reb Shimon Aimer. That's Shita number 1. Reb Shimon Aimer, Harehu Aimer. Reb Shimon says, no, it says in the pasuk b'chag hamatzos b'chag Shavuos b'chag Sukkos. Kol sheva b'chag hamatzos b'chag Shavuos b'chag Sukkos. If a korban can be brought on Pesach, you could also bring it on Shavuos and Sukkos. And if it's not coming on Chag HaMatzos, then it doesn't come on Chag HaShavuos, Chag HaSukkos. That's Shita number 2. So he holds no Yom Tov can you have korban toidas. Maybe Adam toidas b'Chag HaSukkos. You can bring the korban toida on Sukkos. You'll be yaitza simcha, right? Because it also comes along with meat, right? But you're not yaitza chagigah, because you have to bring a special korban, special money that has to be specified for chagigah. Okay, so those are the 3 shitas. So we have 3 shitas here. Well, first shita is that the korban toida can only be brought on Sukkos. The second shita is that it can't be brought on any Yom Tov, and the third shita is that it could be brought only on Sukkos, but you're only yaitza your chi of simcha with it. You're not yaitza your chagigah.
Isn't a korban Pesach a korban Todah?
A korban Pesach is a korban Todah? Why are you saying that? I mean, it is a Todah. You're saying al Todah al Mitzrayim.
I'm saying it's a korban Todah. That's the korban
That's
Pesach.
true, but it's not right.
No,
but
it's
not
it's a shlamim. It's not a todah, it's a shlamim.
No, but he's saying, I think what you're saying is that it's a Todah al it's thanks. Is that what you mean?
I thought it falls under the category of a korban Todah.
No, it's a shlamim. A korban Pesach is a shlamim. That's a whole deal. If you remember, I think it was in the right. If you by mistake shecht korban Pesach for a korban shlamim, korban Pesach, it's bringing me bad memories already. I shouldn't say that, but yeah, no. So it's not a korban. I mean, I thought you're saying that it's a korban todah because we're thanking Hashem for coming out of Mitzrayim, which is true, but it's not the prescribed korban todah. If somebody goes through the arba tzrichim lahaidas, right? 4 people need to, this like benching goimel. That's really what. That's what it is. Either way, so we say that in this machlokes is built in the same machlokes as before, which is whether optional korbanos can be brought on Yom Tov. So you see here that there is a shita that holds that it can be brought on Sukkos, right? Fine. Now the Gemara goes through all these three shitas. Amar, right? So you're not allowed to bring the korban todah on Pesach because of the chametz. Shita, of course, you're making chametz. How can you bring the korban todah? Talking about the 14th day, meaning on Erev Pesach, because you're not allowed to bring kachim into a Beis of psul. So since if you're going to bring a korban todah on Erev Pesach, you're going to not be able to eat it, right? Normally you have to eat it for a day and a half, or a day, or whatever, or 2 days and 1 night, depending which type of korban, right? So, but you're not going to have that time. So what's going to end up happening is that korban is going to become puzzle. So therefore, same thing at Yom Kippur. So you're not going to have the time to finish it at night because Yom Kippur you're not allowed to eat. So we don't allow you to even start bringing the korban. So that's what it means. It doesn't mean you don't bring the korban on Pesach. That's pashut. It means even on Erev Pesach you don't bring it. But loy bat seres and not on Shavuos Yom Tov because it's Yom Tov. Kasavar nedarim and nidavos ain't crave Yom Tov because this opinion holds like Beis Shamai that nedarim and nidavos can't be brought on Yom Tov. But maybe Adam Taydasai, or like Beis Hillel according to the other opinion. But maybe Adam Taydasai b'chag Sukkos, Amos. Now when on Sukkos, Elam be Yom Tov atzmai. If we're saying that you bring on a Yom Tov atzmai, we just said on Shavuos you can't bring it because you're not allowed to bring voluntary korbanos. So why would you be able to bring it on Sukkos? So it can't be talking about a Yom Tov Sukkos. Ella b'chayil Shamai. Must be talking about that you can bring it on Chalamayid. Chalamayid Sukkos you're allowed to, because we're more makel. So optional korbanos on Chalamayid are allowed to be brought. That's shita number 2. That's shita number
clear
one.
raya. This would be a clear proof that you're chayiv in simchas Yom Tov b'chol hamoed.
Why? Maybe this is just that you're allowed to.
Yaitz mishum simcha. Yaitz mishum simcha.
Doesn't say that by chol hamoed here, according to this shita.
Huh?
The other shita, maybe this shita is just saying you bring on chol hamoed because you're allowed to. There's not. We don't have as many restrictions.
You mean there would be Machlokes Tanaim here if there's a chiyuv simchas Yom Tov?
You're
All
making
right.
that. You're making it to a Machlokes Tanaim. I'm just not sure this shita holds that. The next shita or the shita after, I think, will hold it.
It's Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon. Rabbi Elazar-
No, this is the Tanakama we're in now.
I know, but Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon says maybe Adam Tidosim Chagigah.
Right, but that's good. So that's him. But I don't know what this shita holds.
He also holds it's usher to bring nidavos, nidavos on Yom Tov. No, that was his shita.
Who? Yeah, but he's
Rabbi
saying
Elazar
but on
Reb Shimon.
chol hamoed, yes. Chol hamoed, yes, but that doesn't mean that you have a chi of simcha for that. Just he allows it
So
to
it
be
is
brought.
Yaitz b'yidecha v'asum shum simcha. That's
Doesn't
what he
say
says.
that.
That's Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon.
But we're not in Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon now. We're in the Tanakama now.
According to Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon, he would hold the same as the Tanakama that it's you can't bring the Dharma Nidavos on Yom Tov.
I'm not sure. So sure. Okay, maybe. I hear what you're
That's
saying.
his
I'm not
shita.
sure.
That's what he said in Amud Aleph.
Yeah. Okay, maybe. Let's see weiter. Maybe. Okay. Reb Shimon Omer, this is the second opinion. Hareyu Omer b'chag hamatzos b'chag hashvuos b'chag hasukkos. Kol sheba b'chag hamatzos, but b'chag hashvuos u'b'chag hasukkos. If a korban is allowed to be brought on Pesach, it can be brought on Shavuos and Sukkos. B'chol shaloi ba b'chag hamatzos, eina ba b'chag hashvuos b'chag hasukkos. It can't be brought. So Maskel Rav Zera hashta slusi mesaltina nedarim nidavos mibai. So he's asking, you're allowed to gather wood on chol hamoed, right? Meaning you're allowed to cut wood on chol hamoed. Yeah, for the tzarich moed. You're not allowed to bring nedarim and nidavos. How could Reb Shimon say that you can't bring? Now, obviously Pesach you can't bring it because it's chametz. But why can't you bring it on Sukkos? Right? If you're allowed to go to, let's talk in today's terms. If you're allowed to go to amusement park on Sukkos, chol hamoed Sukkos, so why can't you bring a korban? Right? That's what he's asking. So that's and Chanami. So the Gemara answers, Amar Abaye, Ba'akrava, Kuli Amalei Pligi T'Sharik. Bringing the korban, everybody holds as mutar on chol hamoed Sukkos. Ki Pligi L'Meikam Alei B'Bal Ta'acher. Now we have a different din. The din as follows: that if a person promises to bring a korban to the Beis Hamikdash, he has 3 Yomim Tovim to bring it, and if he doesn't bring it, he's over on Bal Ta'acher. That he pushed it off. Do not push off bringing the korban, which obviously, unfortunately, does not have any practical application to us Bisman Hazeh, but it does. Because tzedakah, a tzedakah pledge, you're not allowed to, if you have tzedakah money, you can't just hold on to it forever and ever. You got to give it. And if there's an ani that comes to your door and you have tzedakah money put away, and a legitimate ani comes to your door, then you're mechuyev to give some of that money to the ani right away. Even if you have it, let's say you have it earmarked for a certain tzedakah, and then an ani comes to your door, you're over on an isser if you don't give it to that ani. At least some of it, not all of it.
Even if you made a pledge to that?
Yeah, you'll have to come up with more money from your other pledge. If you put into a pushka, that's another thing.
Put it into fidelity account.
Yeah, but no, if you have access to it and an ani comes to your door, you got to give some of it to the ani.
If you take off from your check, your mice, your 10%, you put it into the account, and you take from that account, you have to.
If there's an ani that comes to your door,
you have to go write him a check right away.
Yes.
Wow.
If it's a legitimate ani.
If you made a pledge on Yom Kippur for $1,000, right, and then you have the $1,000 in your account, and then only shows up the day after Yom Kippur, and that's the $1,000 that you have to tzedakah, you have to write him more money.
See that already? I don't know, because there you pledged it. You already pledged it to give to the tzedakah. So therefore, it's as if that's already meshubah to the tzedakah. We're talking about if you put away my. We're talking right. No, but we're talking about in that case. If that case is that the tzedakah already is almost koined already, so that's already the tzedakahs, right? Meaning they're koined. Now they're going to come after you for it. But in Naftali's case, which is that you just put the meiser money away, and you're going to give it out as it comes along. Then an ani comes, then you could be over on Baal Ta'achar with that.
That's always
I'm-
have to give it. If ani comes, you put question is you can't just say.
That's true, but you could be over. That's true. That's a different issue. That's a pasuk in Tillim that you have to give to an ani. But this is you could be over on Baal Ta'achar because you're purposely pushing off giving tzedakah.
Can the ani be over on Lifnei Iver for putting you in that position? If you already had it earmarked and then it comes over, you all of a sudden.
I hear. How's he supposed to know though? How's he supposed to know? I hear what you're saying, but how's he supposed to know that you're not behaving?
Right. He's putting you in that situation. You're right. I don't know. If you have it earmarked, for it, all of a sudden
If you
you're
would
over on
taka
an
know,
Isser 'cause
if
he
you would
shows up.
taka know, then it's a problem. If you would taka know, then it's a problem. Yeah, but anyway, so that's
Let me
today's
ask,
practical application.
if you had a hamburger for supper and I come to your house and I buy you and I bring you, I say, I just bought you a slice of pizza. I'm over Lifnei Iver, please.
Abba, it needs a guy like me who knows another guy made $100,000 pledge. I heard he made it somewhere else. And then I go to him and I ask him for money.
Right. I guess it's negayah to those for those of us here that are crazy enough to be fundraisers. Yes, that's what I guess it's negayah to.
Well, no, what's that? Zev is not.
My dear
Zev is coming from an
son-in-law, my
institution.
dear
That's not the
son-in-law.
same
Do
thing.
you know who Willie Sutton is? Did you ever hear of Willie Sutton?
Yes.
Was the bank robber. They asked him, where does he rob banks? So he said, because that's where the money is. So you're going to go to a guy you heard he made $100K pledge. That's who you're going to go to for money. Who else are you going to go to?
Yeah, but that's not the same thing. He's not. Zev is not an ani. He's collecting for an institution. Not about Todah if you say no to him.
No, but he's saying if he goes to collect for his own tzedakahs, let's say he has an ani that he needs.
If an ani comes, is one thing I'm saying. But if an institution comes,
Say, but if he knows,
and I have an
okay.
earmark, that. But you're not about Todah if saying no to an institution if you have an earmark.
Well, you can't. You could also be a rabbi if you hold off on paying it to the institution for a while. I don't know exactly what the
No, if
sheer
I
about
pledge
for that
one
is.
institution, and then another
I think
institution
there are-
comes, and I say
I don't
no,
know.
I'm giving it to another one.
Yeah, could be. But I don't know. I think there are opinions that say if you go more than 3 Yom Tov without paying your pledge, it could be a problem. I think so. I don't remember for sure, but there might be.
So Yaakov, the Baal Ta'achar and the Mishna is a three-way Machlokes.
What, whether it goes into order or not?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. Yeah. So that's what I'm learning.
It could be up to 5 Yom Tov.
It could theoretically, you could stretch your pledge. You could stretch your pledge if you go with the right opinion.
Yeah, but if a guy makes a 5-year pledge, that's not an issue.
That's fine. No, because that's fine. That's fine.
So it could be as short as 1 Yom Tov.
Could be if you did it the wrong timing. Yes. Yeah.
Every 6 months you have to give out all your Misa money, or only if you pledge?
No, you give out your Meiser money when you want, but if an ani comes to your door when you have Meiser money put away, then you have to give some of it to that ani. Not all of it, but some of it.
What do you mean? A guy who put money in a fidelity account because he made money, he put the money away, and then ani shows up at his door. But he doesn't want to give that on the thing that he's making.
You have to.
Als Baal Ta'achar or als Poishid Yodre?
Not Poishid Yodre, als Baal Ta'achar.
You said only if it's Meiser money put away.
No,
whatever, any money you have put away. If you have money put away, I don't know if it's in an account that you can't access it. I'm not so sure you mechuyev to that. I don't know. Let's talk the old days. I put $100 cash in my closet. I say I'm saving this for a rainy day to give to tzedakah whenever, wherever. Then a guy knocks on the door and says, "I need tzedakah. I'm an ani." You have to give him some of that money, otherwise it's Baal Ta'achar. Yes.
Okay, you just said you left that out of money for tzedakah.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I said.
These gvirim, some of them, they take the money and now let's say stock. They put it in a fidelity account.
I mean, because they want to grow the tzedakah money. That's not pasha. They could do that either. That's not pasha at all that they can do that. They want to make tzedakah more money, so they put it into an account. And that's not pasha. They could do that, but that's a different schmooze. Because you got to give the money to tzedakah. Who's put you in charge of making tzedakah
I don't know
more
what.
money?
Wait a minute, tzedakah didn't come to me yet. I know. I know a guy made $10 million ago, right? So he made $10 million. He doesn't know what yet stock is.
1 minute.
So no.
He doesn't know yet what his stock is
20
going to
minutes.
be.
Half hour. And a chanami. Okay, but it's a whole different thing. But whatever it is, the point is that you can theoretically be over on Baal Ta'achar with tzedakah money bisman hazeh. Either way, what we're going to see now is the Machlokes is whether Baal Ta'achar is 3 Yomim Tovim, any 3 Yomim Tovim, or it goes in the order starting from Pesach. Right? Nafkamina being that if a guy pledges money to tzedakah, pledges a korban after Pesach, he could really almost get 2 years, according to one sheet. Right? Because it starts from Pesach. Yeah. So again, I'm gonna buy about Krabakul. I'm like pligi the shari. When you makar it, everybody holds. There's no machlokes that it's mutter. Make them love about ta'achar. The whole machlokes is what is the din of Baal Ta'achar, which literally means do not push off. Right? Tanakama Sovar. If you see what the minyanim are going, what time the minyanim are going on with Ben Azmanim and all the shuls, that's Baal Ta'achar. The push off, right? The push off the davening as late as you can, right? Okay. So anyway, so Tanakama Sovar, Shalish Regalim Amar Rachmana, right? It says 3 regalim, afilu shloi kesidron, even if it's not in the order. So if a guy pledges right before Sukkot, so then by Shavuos, he has to have it paid up, his korban. Rav Shimon's over kesidron. Consider it has to be in the order. And if it's not in order, then it's not. So that's the machlokes. Rav Shimon, he's the third shita. Maybe Adam Taidasa b'chaga sukkahs amos. When can he bring the korban Todah? If he means that you could bring it on sukkahs, that's a tanakama. Yom Tov must be holds that you're allowed to bring it on Yom Tov because someone nedarim nidavos craving Yom Tov. He must hold that nedarim nidavos are brought on Yom Tov. Fine. So if that's the case, Mishna chagigah sukkahs denokas. So then why chagigah sukkahs? He should be able to bring the korban on Shavuos too. So Reb Shimon l'tameh, he's going according to his sheet. The Tani Reb Shimon Omer lo yomer chagigah sukkahs shabay hakasim medaber. Right? Don't say chagigah sukkahs because that's what the pasuk's talking about. Right? Lama nemar. So why does it say chagigah sukkahs? Lama shezeh achron, to tell you that that's the last Yom Tov. After sukkahs, you're going to be over and about to achron. That's the first sheet. That sukkahs causes it, right? Meaning he holds that it's you sukkahs. You got to bring it by sukkahs, right? He has a very extreme sheet about Baal Ta'achar. It has to be brought by sukkahs. You pledge it on Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur, by the Yom Kippur appeal. You pledge a nedarim to the mizbeah, and you don't bring it by sukkahs. You're over Baal Ta'achar. Right, so that's 3 shitas. Right, again, 3 shitas in Baal Ta'achar. One, it's got to be 3 Yom Tovim in any order. The second one has to be 3 Yom Tovim in order, starting with Pesach, which means you can really go 5 Yom Tovim if you pledge it after Pesach. And the last sheet is Reb Shimon, who holds that any sukkahs. Once sukkahs passes, you're on Baal Ta'achar. Fine. Gemara says, with the korban Todah, you can bring it on sukkahs, so you're going to be yotze your simcha because you're going to have meat. But you're not yotze chagigah, right? Now, why not? A chagigah, you're chayav to bring a separate korban. Again, we said before, simcha is just to eat meat, right? Don't make a difference how you get that meat. We don't care. You can use ma'aser sheni, you can use all these type of things, as long as you eat meat. But the korban chagigah is a requirement. So, and you would not be yotze because you have to have special money set aside for korban chagigah. Again, using a zushtel to ma'aser money. Can you use ma'aser money to buy a lulav and esrog? You're not allowed to because you're required to bring a lulav and esrog, right? But can you use ma'aser money for kids tutoring? You're not required, so that you would be able to, right? So the same thing with korbanos.
You use ma'aser money to pay for the difference between the mahuder and the regular.
More than since you're mechuyev to pay 30% more for hiddur than you would normally pay, anything more than 30% hiddur you could take from ma'aser. Yeah, but the point is that optional mitzvahs can be paid for, and non-optional mitzvahs cannot be paid for, right? So the korban chagigah is a chiyuv, so you have to use special money for that. So Gemara says pshita davar shabachayvu, and it's a chiyuv. You have to use chulin. You can't use anything else. So no, even if he said that when he's bringing the korban todah, that he wants to be yaitze the korban chagigah with the korban todah, it doesn't work. Let's say a guy says, I want to bring a korban todah, but I'm only bringing the korban todah if I can also be yotze with it for the korban chagigah. I guess he's not so thankful to Hashem that he escaped harm. So he's going to say, I'm bringing the korban todah, but I want it also to be yotze in my korban chagigah. That's case number one. Case number two, Areni Nazir. We'll go a little bit down because we want to cover for first day Yom Tov. So a Nazir, normally he doesn't eat wine, it doesn't cut his hair, and then when he's done, he has to cut all his hair and bring korbanos. So he says, I want to take my korbanos from my nazirus and use Ma'aser Sheni money, which I have to bring to Yerushalayim anyways. Ma'aser Sheni, right, is what years is it again? It's the first, second, fourth, and fifth years of the Shemitah cycle. You have to bring up a Ma'aser Sheni to Yerushalayim and eat in Yerushalayim. So he says, the Nazir says, I'm going to bring the money up to Yerushalayim and I'm going to use that money for my korban. So Mahu, what's the din? Amarlei Nader Be'ena Yaitza. He has to bring the korban todah. He's not Yotz's chagigah because you cannot be Yotze. And Nazir, he's a Nazir Be'ena Megaleach and cannot use the money for the korbanos for the cutting of the hair. Okay, fine. A similar case, Hahu Gavra.
Why isn't that Taylor on Tanai Batul, Maisa Batul, the Machlokes?
Because it seems like he's not allowed, because well, let's see the next case. Let's see the next case, because it really sounds like depends how you word it. Right? One bagay, Ruvain says to Shimon, give 400 zuz to Pliny, and then he can marry my daughter. Right? So give 400 zuz to that guy. When you give him that money, he can marry my daughter. Papa, arba meya shokil. The guy can take the 400 ubarte and the daughter ibai nasiv, ibai la nasiv. If he wants, he can marry her. If he wants, he doesn't have to marry her. Right? Why? Now, how come it didn't automatically happen? It was a tanai. Like Gershon just said, it was a tanai. He said, take the 400 and then you marry my daughter. So time adarmalu havu levin linsim. Now, the reason is because he said, give it to him and then marry. Aval I Omar Linsiv. Bahavalu, had he said it the other way around, marry and then give him, then I Nasiv Shokil, V'iloi Nasiv Loi Shokil. If he gets married, then he can take the money. If he can't, then he can't. Meaning, so it depends how you word it. You have to word it properly, and then that's whether you have to keep the Tanai. Fine.
This is just, he switched the Tanai. The first case was the Tanai was the marriage.
Right.
That was the Tanai for the money. The second case is the Tanai for the marriage is the money.
Yeah, I hear.
It's the other way around.
Well, okay, but that's what it depends on how you word the Tanai. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, but it's a different thing. One Tanai works, one doesn't.
Fair enough.
Why it's different than the first case. The first case, the Tanai was batul, but the mice is kayim. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know. It's. I thought it was totally in the wording and finished. And if you word it, if you pull the shticks, wording it correctly, so then that's where you get around it.
It's funny when you said at the beginning you were looking forward to kachim. I was going to say, what about nedarim? That comes first. This is
that's true. That is true.
We got both.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see about it. Yosem Arem Kamal Hashmait and Shmid Nafshay. Ramiro said this whole said over this whole Gemara in his own name. Right, which was that if you bring a todah and you want to bring it as a chagigah, so it doesn't work. Ravina said to Maremar, Hasan Hachi Masnisula, you teach it this way. We learned it that it was a question. You learned the whole thing as a comment from yourself, and we learned it that it was Rish Lakish asking a question from Rabbi Yochanan. Okay, I don't know exactly what the Gemara wants with this. Just to say that there's two versions of how the Gemara went about. Okay, Tani Tana Kamedu Rav Yitzchak bar Av. It says, and he brings the oila and he does it the way it's supposed to be done. Kemishpat oilas nedava. You have to do it the way an oila of a nedava, which again is the oila is going to be eaten totally by mitzvah, and that it's a present. Limed al oilas chayveshatuna smicha. That teaches us that at any time you have an oila that's a chiyuv, you need to do smicha. Amralei. So Rabbi Yitzchak said to him, to one who taught over the Beis, Damar Lachmani, who told you this? It's Beis Shamai who does not learn out the Shamai Chavi Shamai Nidava. The Beis Hillel, because it was Beis Hillel, even the Gamri Shamai Chavi Shamai Nidava, since he does learn out the shelamim that is a chiyuv from Shamai that it's a Nidava, olos chayva nami like the Bayikra. So then the olos chagigah doesn't need a pasuk to be olos nedava, because you can learn it out from olos nedava, right? So it can't be Beis Hillel who needs a pasuk. So I'm going to answer me. Beis Hillel, Shamai chagigah, Shamai gamri. Who says Beis Hillel learns out that the Shamai chagigah from a Shamai nedava? Then when the olos chagigah gamri, olos chagigah gufa ba'ikra. Maybe he learns it out from the olos chagigah, and the olos chagigah does need a pasuk. So our answer is Mishna Shamai nedava delay gamri. Why is that different than the Shamai nedava that we don't learn it out? Shekain mitzuyin. Right? You can't learn out because shelamim are very common. You can bring a korban shalom whenever you want. But olos chagigah, you can't learn it out. Shekain kolel, because the olos chagigah gets totally eaten up. Kolel means completely eaten up in the Beis Hamikdash. So when it says asim b'naya, right? We learn it out from the both of them. You don't need the pasuk because you learn out from the combination of both. Okay, so V'sara Beishamai Shamai chagigah lo'bo smicha. Does Beishamai hold that a Shamai chagigah, a shelamim that you're chayiv to bring, doesn't need smicha? But Tanya Amar Rabbi Yosi lo'nechlugu Beishamai Beis Hillel al smicha atzma shetzarach. There's no Machlokes Beishamai Beis Hillel that you need smicha. Haman nechlugu. I'll take it l'smicha shchita. Their whole disagreement between Beishamai Beis Hillel is: do you need to do smicha right next to the shchita? Beishamai says you don't need to, right? So do it on Erev Yom Tov. You don't need to do the smicha right before the korban, right? You don't need to do smicha right before the korban. You can do it on Friday on Erev Yom Tov. Beis Hillel says you do need it, right? So you see that Beis Hillel does hold you need to do smicha. So our answer is, I'll take it with smicha shchita. There's no machlokes Beishamai Beis Hillel that you need to do smicha immediately before the shchita. Shetzarach alman nechelku ala smicha atzma. The whole machlokes is whether you even need smicha. Shebeishamai oimrim ein tzarach, Beis Hillel oimrim tzarach. Right? The Beishamai says you do need, and Beis Hillel says, Beishamai says you don't need. Beis Hillel says you do need. So basically, we have two ways of learning the machlokes Beishamai Beis Hillel. Either it's that the machlokes is whether you definitely need smicha. The question is, does it have to be right before the korban, or that's when you need smicha? It needs to be immediate, but not necessarily do you need smicha. All right. Okay, let's just do these. We have the Gemara just two quick stories, and it's quick. So Tanabana, Ma'aseh Hillel Azakin. There was a story with Hillel Azakin. Shehevi Alasei LaAzara Lismei Chalev Yom Tov. He brought his korban oil to the Azara to do smicha on Yom Tov. Chibru will have Talmidei Shamai Hazakin. I don't know exactly what was going on over there, but they gathered, the Talmidim of Shamai Hazakin gathered against Hillel. What are you doing with this behemoth? Again, we have a Machlokes Shamai and Hillel, whether you're allowed to do smicha on a korban in the Beis Hamikdash. So Hillel brought up the korban, and they're going to do smicha. Shamai, they ganged up on him, and they said, what are you doing with this animal? Nekevi. It's a female. Oila cannot be a female. Oila can only be a male. So he says it's a female, and I'm bringing it as a korban shlamim. Right? So he basically, instead of saying that it's a korban oila, he made it like it's a korban shlamim. Right? So kishkish lamp is zanva. So he moved the tail to show that it was a female, and then they left. Yeah. So on that day, they overpowered Beis Shammai overpowered Beis Hillel. If they want, I don't know, for some reason that day there were more people, and it almost sounds like Congress. Like, oh, we got enough Republicans in the House today, so let's quickly make a vote and we'll overrule the Democrats. That's what it sounds like. I don't know exactly how that worked. So they were about to do that, and they were going to paskin not like Hillel. There was an older fellow that was a Talmud of Shamai, he knew that the halacha was like Beis Hillel. So again, I don't understand what's going on over here. Was the halacha like Beis Hillel? Was it not like Beis Hillel? It was established. It wasn't established. I don't know. And then he sent. He brought every sheep that was in Yerushalayim. Sign Keda, Rashi says those are the best sheep in Yerushalayim. He said, bring them all into the Beis Hamikdash on Yom Tov. And he put them in the Zara of Amar, and he said, anybody who wants to do smicha, come and do smicha. Meaning he went against, even though he's a Talmud of Shamai, he basically flooded the Beis Hamikdash to show that the halacha is like Hillel. And that day, that ended up being that Beis Hillel overpowered Beis Shamai, and they said the halacha is like him, and nobody made a stink about it at all. Nobody protested at all. Take whatever you want out of that story. I don't understand that story. Another thing is, Tosfos says, how they bring? You can't bring. There's a chulin. How do you bring all these sheep into the Beis Hamikdash? Right? How do you bring all these sheep into the Beis Hamikdash? Tosfos says it doesn't mean into the Beis Hamikdash. It means into the Harabayas. It can't mean into the Beis Hamikdash because you're not allowed to do that. Just quickly, one more story, which is a similar story. Shuv Ma'aseh b'Talmid Echad, the Talmid Beis Hillel. There was another story of the Talmid Beis Hillel. She'evi olos hazara l'smicha. He brought his korban oila to do smicha. Matzu Talmid Echad Talmid Beis Shamai. He brought a Talmid Echad Talmid Beis Shamai came. Amalei mazeh smicha. What is this smicha you're doing over here? Amalei mazeh shtika. What's being quiet? Meaning be quiet. Shasku b'nezifa v'alach. He shut him up. He made him quiet, and that was it. And he went away. Right. So a similar story. So Amar Abai Hilkach Chait Tzur Merabanan. This young Talmud Chacham, that he says, a shtach, he says something to his friend. Don't say anything more. Because the Kanoi, Shamai, the Talmud of Shamai said, what's this smicha? He answered mazu shtika. You don't have to say any more than what he told you. You just answer him based on what he told you. Yeah? Okay, fine. I appreciate everybody coming on earlier, and I'll talk time tomorrow, 10 to 6, I guess.
Yeah.
10 to 6, 5 to 6.
No, at least 10 to 6. 6 o'clock.
Which one?
I don't know. I'm asking that. That was a question. It was a question.
10 to 6.
10 to 6.
6 o'clock was too late.
10 to 6.
Yeah, not after 10 to.
All right.
Not
10
after
to 6.
10 to
Are you
6.
sending out a cheat sheet for sukkahs?
Yes, tonight at some
Okay.
point.
But the way the belt does it with the lighting the candles in the sukkah, they put something on a tray to bring it back in?
No, on Yom Tov it's not muksa.
Not
You can bring it in.
Shabbos.
Oh.
Yom Tov is no problem. Maybe I should add that, Taka. Maybe I should add that. In your schus. I'll put a little asterisk there.
Can you make an asterisk and say because
Put
me?
NL. Put NL.
I gotta
Put
no, because they're gonna
NL.
think it's a totally
They'll
liner.
think it's me. Yeah, they'll
Yeah.
think it's me.
I don't want to get that mixed up.
Maybe people know who you are. NL could also be you.
Naftali, they won't. They'll know it's not you because it's not going to say it 5 times in 5 different ways to make sure that you got it.
They'll say I heard this at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He woke me up from my nap.
All right. All right. Have a good night, everybody. Okay, Zagazan.
I just stopped with the last line. We have Gittin also. First Mishnah of Gittin.
What?
First Mishnah in Gittin we had also tonight.
Oh, you say Anna I hear.
Yeah, you're killing me with your backtracking on your psak.
I didn't backtrack.
What do you mean? You told me just how might see, and then
I
you
said
said
you
I got
could do that, but if your guest doesn't want you to do that,
my guest wants to do the most that will annoy me.
okay, so then that's Achnos
Mayor, put this away. Mando, put it away.
Is that let's start to do something that will annoy me because it makes my guest happy?
What?
If it'll annoy me and make him happy, that's Achnas Sargam?
Chayra.
Okay, fine. So that I can't argue with.
Yeah. I don't know how I got involved.
Because you're the deciding vote on our argument.
There you go. Yeah.
Did you got the wheels on?
What?
Did you get the wheels
Yes,
on?
we got the wheels on. Yeah, we haven't put into the sukkah yet. I'll let you know. All right.
What's this?
Thank
Wheels on what?
He got me a little what do you call it? Like a high riser type couch / bed for the sukkah because I was complaining how big a pain it is to take apart the sukkah and put it all back together again.
I hear.
Yeah.
Oh, is he gonna be like Pesach? Sit on a couch for the Suda also?
That if I do that, then that's going to be a sleeping and an eating at the same time.
Yeah.
You can't do mitzvahs, chavilas. All right, I got to run down. All right.
Oh, leave it?
Shkiah.
I need it.